CT Sports Talent Show. My name is Christopher Saunders. I'm pleased to have on Joe Gaetano. He's going into his freshman year with the Bowdoin Polar Bears of the NESCAC, a program or rather school that I'm familiar with my years covering the NESCAC for various sports, from women's basketball, men's basketball, and soccer and baseball and hockey, and you name it. Haven't done football yet. Hopefully one day I will be able to do football. But Joe played at Foran, and also, too, fun fact that people don't know, also plays the tuba. Hopefully he can play that at Bowdoin maybe after he does his thing for a couple of years. But Joe, I appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks for having me.
I really want to get into, before we talk about your time at Foreign, I just want to, rewind a little bit, kind of go back to your younger years, because you were just
Yeah.
speaking about, how you just had a family reunion, 80 to 100 people. Congratulations on your grandparents on 50 years. Congratulations to them. Sports, right? And obviously the big thing is, how did you get into that? So probably a dumb question, but I want to know, has sports kind of always been in your family?
No, yeah, for sure. I grew up basically only playing baseball and basketball. That was my thing. I didn't really play any football besides like schoolyard recess football. That was pretty much it. But then as I got older, I was a really tall kid. I was like 6 feet tall in like the sixth, seventh grade. So I was up there, and I was a basketball player. I thought, yeah, if I keep growing like this, maybe I'll make it to the league one day. And I had really big basketball dreams. But then I started playing AAU with a couple of my friends. Actually, they went to law and they were seniors the year before me, so they're a year older. And they were all football players. So they were like, you would be great. Me and my brother, they were like, you guys would be great at football. You should come play with us. So we were like, sure. And that was in my seventh grade year. And of course, being like that big guy, I had to like make the weight requirement. And I was 6 foot, like one, as I said. I think it was 155 pounds. So I got to play that year because that was the only year I could make like the weight requirement for how tall I was, because I was so big at such an early age. So me and my brother got to play together for 1 year, and that was pretty cool. And then eighth grade, I didn't play, and I started playing again freshman year.
So with you having the size, right? And I think that's, probably one of the hardest things that for people who don't know, as you grow and get taller, there's a lot
Mm,
of things that you have to get used to, right? I remember talking
yeah.
with a bunch of basketball players here in Waterbury because I do the NVL games. There
Yep.
was one player in particular who grew from I think he was somewhere around five, like somewhere in the mid fives, but he
Yeah.
grew like 4 inches. So then he
Yeah.
was having to adjust his shot because now his shot was higher. He's a little bit closer on the finish to the basket, and it took
Yes.
him time to adjust. So for you, as you were growing, obviously football was a big part of that. Did you,
Mm.
did you have to kind of figure yourself out technically wise with your body?
Yeah, for sure. I think it started earlier in basketball because I realized I was getting so much bigger at such a faster rate that I
Mhm.
had to learn on the fly. And that like growing into your body thing, I did that like such an earlier age that when it was time for high school, like I wasn't perfect, obviously, by any means. I'm still not perfect, but when I got to high school, I was much better at like knowing my body and knowing like what I could do, what I couldn't do, what I had to get better at, because I was like already grown into my body type of thing, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I think that was like kind of an advantage, like growing earlier on in my childhood.
When you got to foreign, and I know, Coach Drew, who now is an AD now, I think with law, if I remember right,
Yeah, yeah,
he's a big proponent of so many things that went very, very well for foreign. He's, I think, a big reason, obviously, for last year, and now with him
mhm,
being the AD and not being able to coach, has left
yeah,
great hands for Coach Walker, who I'll be having on the podcast sometime next week. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. Um, but first conversation with Coach Drew, I'm sure he saw you and was like, "This kid needs to play football. He's not going anywhere except after playing football." Talk to me about the
yeah.
conversation, the first one with him.
Okay, so yeah, so my brother, as I said, played football 4 years. He was a good football player. So big thing for our school is the pasta parties and getting the team together and getting the team chemistry flowing. So my parents would like bring in food and like help serve it. So I would go with them. And Coach Drew and the rest of the staff were sitting there one day, and he said, I forget the exact words, something along this line, like, "Who are you?" Like, blah blah blah. We got to talking. I was like, "Oh yeah, I play quarterback." And he was like, "Oh yeah, well, I mean, like, it's gonna be fun next year coaching you and stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about playing quarterback. And I remember the first practice, Jack Cushman, you had him on, great guy, one of my best friends. We were
Yeah.
going at it for the starting quarterback job. And Coach Drew walked over and whispered something to my freshman coach. And he immediately turns around. He's like, "Joe, go play wide receiver." and I never looked back. I think the idea was if I didn't lose my sophomore year, I was going to get time at wide receiver at the sophomore level, but I wouldn't have gotten time as a quarterback till junior year or
Mhm.
something like that. Jack was way better than I ever would have been. So that was a great decision. But yeah, so that was the first time me and him ever got to talk. And so
That's pretty funny. And it's amazing because, we were just talking about a player who you have on your team now at Bowdoin from Farmington, and he
yeah.
kind of reminds me of like an Edelman Welker type. Well, Edelman
Mhm.
used to be quarterback at Kansas State, and he
Yeah.
had a pretty good career with the Patriots and did his thing and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
when you had to move positions and he's like, okay, go play wide receiver. I mean, be honest here. Did you even know what like a route was as a wide receiver? Or were you just running to run?
So when I was in Pop Warner, I was a quarterback because our best player, he was Tyler Tatora. He was the running back for St. Joe's a couple years ago. We played like a pretty much snap it to the quarterback and they run time thing. So it wasn't a huge proponent of being a quarterback, but when he went down, I played quarterback. So I kind of thought of myself. But before that, I was a receiver a little bit. So I would catch passes. So I had a little bit of an idea. Definitely wasn't the greatest, and I had to put in a lot of work, but yeah, I had a lot to learn that I didn't know at the time.
So basically, so what it seems like the first probably couple practices, you had no idea what route you were running. You were just trying to get open.
Yeah.
And then as the process began and you started learning the
Yeah.
position,
Mm,
that's when as they say, the wide receiver tree and the
yeah.
route running started to
Mm.
become a little bit more normal. What says you?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And we started to get really comfortable as we moved on that year, freshman year. I
Mm.
remember I think it was 5 games in. We were having a great time. Pretty much I was so much bigger. I used to just run straight down the field and Jack would throw it to me and we would score touchdowns. It was a lot of fun. But then I tore my ACL and we just went back to square one with that. And I feel like that was good for me in a sense because I got to really look at the film. I got to sit there,
Mm.
watch games from my house, watch games from the sideline, and really study the position and
Mm.
figure out like the technical standpoint of it, if that makes any sense.
Now you said you tore your ACL, right?
Yeah, my right knee.
Right,
I have
Nate.
ACL, MCL, meniscus.
So with doing that, I mean, and what year was that?
Freshman year.
Freshman year. Okay. So in doing that, I mean, first off, the rehab had to be grueling because again, especially with the knee and the position that you play. I mean, any position you play in football, you need your
Mhm.
knees, but particularly wide receiver, you need the speed.
Yeah.
As you were going through the rehab, I mean, just talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, the rehab was definitely not easy. It took a lot of time and effort. I had my parents to thank and all my family members who would pick me up because I wasn't old enough to drive and I couldn't with my knee anyways. So they would
Mhm.
bring me back and forth to PT, to the field to stretch. Anything I needed, they were there for me. So I had them to thank for that. But I don't know. It was just a tough time because especially it was during COVID too. So a lot of this stuff I was just outside in front of my house, like doing anything I could do to get active, like even if it was play football, like with my brother, like throw the football around, get my hands right for the next season, or like work on my routes, whatever it was. It wasn't easy, but definitely got accomplished in different ways.
Well, I mean, again, I mean, you got to find any way to be able to, get your drills in and get kind of the reps, even if it's an awkward thing where
Yeah.
you're sitting on a couch and because you can't move your knee, you still want to at least, you can still catch, you got your hands, those are
Yeah.
perfectly fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So as you were going through that, um, how difficult was it as far as to kind of get back, trusting your knee again? Because I know in baseball, because we were just talking about a
Yeah.
particular player on a particular team.
Mhm.
When you tear your UCL, I can't tell you how many pitchers I've talked to or even knew who
Mhm.
had to get that trust in their arm again because they felt
Yeah.
like at the moment in their mind, is this going to be the pitch that it's going to pop, right? But
Yeah.
you got to get past that. So for you,
Mhm.
when you were playing again, even when the knee was 100%, right?
Yeah.
Mentally, how was that?
If I'm being honest, I
Yeah.
feel like football is a different kind of sport than like baseball or basketball, like we were talking about earlier. Basketball and baseball, those are sports that I've played my entire life. And honestly, like the game has stayed almost the same for me throughout high school. Like I feel like the intensity that I brought was the same the whole way through. But for football, I never played football growing up, so I didn't really have like that fire yet by freshman year. I think that really kicked in when I tore my ACL. Like I think that really started. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a football player. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna be all state. I'm gonna be all conference. I had these goals for myself, these lofty ones, and I think that really set in after I tore my ACL. So there was really no fear in going back. It was all just like I'm gonna get back. Like I'm gonna come back better. It wasn't really scared. I was more scared to play like basketball and baseball, because baseball, I mean, like you have to slide, you have to, all the things I knew I had to relearn, but football I didn't really have to relearn because I realized I didn't know anything.
Mhm. Well,
Like I didn't know the right way to do things.
exactly, and like you said, it just in terms of the playing that you've had, right? Even though you're going into your freshman year of Bowdoin, the amount of years that you played are a lot less compared to maybe some other players. So like
Yeah.
ceiling is probably still very high, and I would think it would be because you have not played as many games, like in baseball, right? There's a
Mhm.
pitcher for LSU who now got drafted and
Mhm.
pitches for the Pirates, Paul Skeens. You
Yeah.
know, he's throwing a hundo almost every pitch, but he was a two-way for many years and never really focused on pitching until of late. So
Yeah.
he's got an arm of like as fresh as can be. So for
Yeah.
you, like, have you thought about how your potential is as high as it could be because you haven't played that long, so the wear and tear is not on your body.
Yeah, for sure. So especially this year, my senior year, everyone wants to like go out and you want to play all your sports, you want to fish with your friends. Like that's the big thing.
Mhm.
So when basketball and baseball season rolled around and I was already committed to play for college football, obviously it crossed my mind like, okay, like, are we gonna play or not? Are we gonna go into the weight room? Are we gonna come out and like play in front of our school for the last final time? So that was big for me. I had to talk to my family a lot about that, but I eventually ended up playing. So this summer is the time that, well, I was in the weight room the whole time, but this summer is like when I really started to go to the weight room every day. I had the plan for college and everything.
Mhm.
So I, yeah, I've been seeing a lot of progress and I'm pretty excited about like what's to come. So
Talk to me about last year, man. 9-1. I mean, I know foreign from previous players I had on from previous seasons. It was kind of
yeah,
one of those building process. And I had a couple players on. I apologize, I missed some of the names. I know I had Cushman on because I had him on when he threw
yeah,
for a bazillion yards and like 20 touchdowns in one game. It was crazy.
yeah,
But the season last year, going 9-1 was awesome because I know in talking with Coach Drew, he was telling me how, hey, this year we were working on building things because of some players lost because of graduation, and it was a process. And as he told me, everything came together last year, especially in the SEC, obviously a very good football conference. So
yeah.
kind of talk to me about what happened last year that made 9-1 so possible.
Yeah, I mean, our coaching staff was phenomenal last year. I can't say enough good things about them. Coach Drew is one of my biggest mentors. I owe most of my success to him and Coach Walker, who I think is going to do a great job for the program. But what they said is pretty much just when they talked to the captains for the first time, it was like, we got to take it slow. We got to take it small. We got to think about the week ahead. We can't get ahead of ourselves because if we do, that's not the way we're successful. We're not one of these big schools that gets their schedule and looks at it and like, we're going to win every single game. So we knew that we had to get our guys and rally them and light the fire for every single week, and that couldn't go away. So week in and week out, week one we played Weston, and that was the setting stone for us. Like going to that overtime game, winning in double overtime. Josh, who was our other slot receiver, had an amazing game. It really like brought him out, and just that game like set the tone for us. And then every week we were so excited to play the next game. And there's a good football culture at our school too. So like we were just all really excited about it. I feel like not differs from other years because every year is excited about playing football and we all have that like brotherhood. But this year it was just on a different level. Like we would always be with each other. We would always hang out outside of football. We would do things. And I feel like that just really propelled us forward.
8 of the 10 games over 40 points, one time under 30. And I know that was the last game of the season that you guys lost to Law. You also
Yeah.
scored 35 in one game. I mean, that's to do that and put up those kind of numbers. I mean, did you guys ever think to yourself, or did the staff ever say during practices, like, hey, we're putting up numbers, like, not to say that Foreign could never do it again.
Yeah.
It's not something that it's one thing if you score. Okay, so I've seen games in the NVL where a team like Ansoni will put up 40 every once in a while,
Yeah.
but even
Yep.
then, their hammer formation, what they do, like sometimes they don't need to score 40, right? But you guys
Yeah.
are putting up high numbers every single game. Like, did you guys realize the history that you guys were making?
We just, I realize is a strong word. Like we would all go on Twitter on the bus on the way home and see everyone, like you, the game, everyone was tweeting about our wins and everyone else's wins, and we would look at that. I can't lie, but Coach Drew, his motto was just like block out the noise. Like once we're done, we can look at everything. We can look at all the good we've done, but like for right now, we have to work. We just have to be within ourselves, kind of thing. So realizing what we did afterwards, like now I think about it all the time. Those are my guys. Like I'm really happy about it, but in the moment, not so much. Like it was kind of just like, oh, we won next week type of thing.
I know Coach Drew loves the air raid offense. I know he must have loved
Oh,
throwing
yeah.
that football around.
Coach Walk too. So this should be a
Oh,
good change.
Coach Walker's the same thing?
Oh, he was quarterback at Foran in early 2000s. He was actually the last time Foran went to the playoffs, he was the quarterback for the team.
Really? So him being a part of the staff last year must have been kind of like a full circle kind of moment, right?
Oh yeah, he loves throwing the ball. He I don't even know how to describe it. He's the security guard at Foran too. So like I'll walk by like if I have a doctor's appointment or something, I'm leaving the school or like senior privilege, and he's just sitting there like scribbling plays down, like what could work, and then showing us at practice, and it always seems to work. So he's gonna have success at this level.
So basically, what you're saying is when I talk to him next week, I need to ask him about what kind of plays were you drawing up
Oh
when
yeah,
when Gaetano was walking out? What kind of plays were you drawing?
it'll be a fun conversation. He'll tell you.
There's nothing wrong with throwing the rock because I'm sure, as you know, watching the NFL games, that's what the NFL has become throwing the football 40, 50 times, letting everybody eat. Although the running back position is starting to kind of diminish because of various reasons. But in terms of wide receivers, you're good to go. You're getting the skin at least 10 to 15 times a game.
Oh yeah, it's fine by me.
Yeah, you're happy. You're good. So is Cushman. He's the same way because he gets to throw it around, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So real quick, too, where is he playing, by the way? Is he playing anywhere?
No, he had interest from a couple schools, but he's going to Sacred Heart next year. He's not playing.
Okay, well, good for him that at least he's going somewhere. And even though he's not playing football, he's at least going to have an opportunity to extend and hopefully do something away from the gridiron, right?
Yeah, for sure. He still comes to the field with me and throws to me though too all the time. So he still loves the game.
Well, as you know, maybe you don't know, quarterbacks have arms as long as probably 56 years old, right? So he could still throw it till he's got probably grandkids, if he ever decides to have kids and then grandkids and so on. So I want to talk about Bowdoin with you a little bit. I mean, how did that come about? Because you mentioned how, what was it? Your brother goes to Princeton, right?
My cousin goes to Princeton. My brother goes to Yale.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, still, not really that much of a drop off. Still very. You talk about two very high academic schools. So it sounds like it runs in the family. Obviously, the NESCAC is kind of known as the Little Ivy because it's the Division III level, but still very competitive and high academics. So when you're looking at schools, what kind of made Bowdoin the attractive piece to you?
Yeah, sure. So I was really looking when I was looking for a college, I was looking about atmosphere. So I was looking about how's the academics, first of all, because that's obviously most important, academics. And then like the football culture, like how are the people? And when I went to Bowdoin for the first time, like it was in the summer, it was in July of last year, and it was just first of all, it was gorgeous. I fell in love with it as soon as I stepped foot on campus. But all the people that I interacted with, like that were there in the summer, so I didn't see the whole student body, but everyone who was there was just so nice to me that it was like unreal. And this coaching staff was also like super nice to me. And yeah, I mean, I just kind of fell in love with it as soon as I got there.
Were you able to, and I'm sure you did, you looked up probably some of the past history with them, or maybe if there were any kids in the past and such.
Yeah.
Was there anything amongst that? Because I'm sure, again, when you're looking at picking schools, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I know a lot of kids I've talked to look at rosters, look at the depth chart, see where they are, because you don't want to sit for 3 years. You want to play and be able to have an opportunity to play college.
Yeah.
So, like, kind of, how was that for you?
Yeah, so the first thing I looked at was I was looking into the coaching staff before I looked at the players, just because I wanted to make sure I was in an environment where I was going to feel, first of all, like safe. I was going to have a good time, and I was going to get to work. And I wanted someone that was going to push me. So as soon as I saw Coach Hammer, he's new to the program. So, and ever since he's gotten into the program, they've been getting steadily better each year. And I think that now we have the opportunity to actually make a really good run. And especially the guys who were already committed before me and were in the process of committing, they're all really good football players. So I just think that this class has the opportunity to do something special, much like we did at Foreign. And yeah, that I looked in the coaches, like the coaching staff a lot, and they're all really good people. So that was good for me. As far as a roster standpoint, I wasn't too worried about like people who are gonna be playing in front of me because that stuff in college football is all fluid. Like you could have a good week, you could have a bad week, but like as long as you're working hard, I feel like I'm gonna be able to earn my time. So
I mean, how could you not play for a guy whose last name is Hammer?
yeah,
That's great, especially
he's a
football.
good guy.
Is he?
Yeah, he's a great guy. And
That's good.
then he wasn't the one who recruited me though. The one who recruited me was Coach Surf, and he's been at the program I think a little bit longer, maybe just as long as Coach Hammer. But yeah, he's a great guy. We met at New England Elite at Tufts
Nice.
first time, and then that day we scheduled a visit to visit Bowdoin, and then I ended up seeing him a week later at the Yale camp, and later that day we literally just drove. We didn't even. I think the visit was supposed to be the next day or the day after, but instead of waiting, we literally just got in the car and drove straight up, both of us, and had the visit. It was either that day or the next day. I think it might have been the next day, but
I mean, hey, everything happens for a reason, right?
oh yeah.
That's awesome to hear, man. And that's really good. I'm happy you're able to find an opportunity to be able to play at the next level. That's really good. Joe, I really appreciate you coming out. A lot of fun being able to talk with you. Before I let you go, I do want to hit on Foreign for one more thing. I know, obviously, you and the senior class are now gone doing your own thing, either with or without playing college football. As far as the kids that have, are returning and just the Foreign program itself, obviously they'll be a little bit younger. There'll be more positions open, and obviously Coach Walker is there. Slinging the rock is still going to be the big thing.
Yep.
What kind of players, or maybe what can I expect from Foreign this season when I'm watching them? If I have an opportunity to see them, if not, what could I potentially see on Twitter and social media?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they are young. That's real, but they do have the opportunity to be just as special as we were last year. I mean, we were just the same group of guys as they are, and we made a run. Coming back, we have Josh Smith. He was our other slot receiver last year. Great player. Ended up breaking his collarbone. That was a big blow for us. So them getting him back next year is going to be really good for them. Gabe Benessi, running back. He got a lot of time last year when Matt Miller got hurt. He is a great player. He's going to be great for them as well this year. And then Joey Gagliardi is going to be their quarterback. He's a good player. He trains a lot. He works really hard, and it's going to be exciting to see him sling the rock. So
Is
yeah,
there
they
any
should be
offensive
good.
lineman I should hear about too? Any
What'd you
O-line?
say?
Any offensive linemen?
Most of our line is going away, but
Okay.
Brandon Payne, who is a really good baseball player, stand out on the baseball field, but he's also a really good football player. He plays middle linebacker too. He's the left guard, and he's very good at what he does. So yeah, should be excited about him too.
Good to hear that. It's always good to be able to have, hear about players who are coming back and can make a big time impact,
Yeah,
especially for a foreign program who, like you mentioned with Coach Walker the last time they made the playoffs when he was, you said the quarterback, right?
yeah, he was a quarterback.
Okay. So that's, who knows? I mean, hopefully they can do it again, but, those young guys, the young cats saw what you guys were able to do. Now it's up to them to kind of, continue that tradition. You know what I mean?
Yep, I hope they do. They have the opportunity to. They're a good team. They will. They'll figure it out.
Well, I look forward to being able to follow them this upcoming season. But Joe, congratulations on your commitment to Bowdoin. No, well overdue. I know you committed way long time ago, but
All right.
congratulations on it. Enjoy Bowdoin. Hopefully, you'll get some time and be able to make an impact in the NESCAC because I'm sure you will.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Always. I'll wrap things up here in the CT Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe. Or CT stands for Connecticut Talent. I'm enjoying finding them all. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and be well.